right, we're going to go ahead and get this webinar started. This is the Uinta for Telecom Mapping webinar. I'm Paul Kelly, and with me today we have Trevor Brown. I'm a sales account manager here at Juniper Systems. Trevor Brown is our business development manager. And just a little bit of history about Juniper Systems and what we do. We've been in business for many years, and we build and design rugged handheld data collection devices for outdoor use, rugged tablets and rugged GPS collectors. And we build and design and manufacture all that here in Logan, Utah. So with the Telecom mapping webinar today, we're going to focus on how Uinta mapping software can help with telecom mapping. And one of the main things that Uinta can help with is to make the challenges with telecom mapping a little bit easier and to make your processes a little bit more straightforward. So here we have a list of some of the challenges you can deal with if you're not using a mapping software like Uinta. You know, your flags can wear, or your paint can wear and your flags can disappear. Your survey mapping is expensive and can take a lot of time. You can have really expensive GPS equipment, complex techniques, and then there's always the hassle of data management and what do you do with your data and how do you track it. And with the Uinta mapping software, these challenges can all go away, and your mapping experience and your telecom mapping can be a lot quicker and a lot more efficient. So when you have some of these problems, and if you're not using a mapping software, it can lead to problems like broken cables, lost time, lost money, and faulty information. So with the mapping, the Uinta for telecom mapping, we're going to go through and kind of show how that can help make the process a lot better. So Uinta is a mapping and data form software. And as you can see on here, it's pretty customizable. You don't have to have predetermined templates, but we do have some in here that make it really good for telecom mapping. And Trevor will go through this a little bit more in the demo, but I just wanted to show a little screen here of what Uinta can do, but we'll dive into this a lot more as we get into this webinar. So Uinta runs on Windows 10 currently, and it will be on Android soon. The Uinta has an optional cloud-based synchronization, and what that means is that you don't have to be using the cloud, but it does allow you to have multiple licenses and in different spots. For example, maybe you have a license on your desktop computer and then one on your tablet out in the field, and you have the option for the cloud sync to synchronize all of your data so that when you get back to the office after doing some mapping, the data is already updated onto your desktop computer. But that is only an option, and you don't have to use that if you don't want to. And also, when you're doing the cloud synchronization, you don't need to have a cellular connection or Wi-Fi for the Uinta software to work well. It'll work out in the field without Wi-Fi or without cellular connection. And then if you'd like, when you get back to the office, you can sync your two systems together manually. But if you do have cellular or Wi-Fi, then it's really handy that it syncs automatically. The Mesa 3 runs Windows 10 and runs Uinta, and this is a really good product to use when you're using mapping. We build these here in Logan, Utah, like I said earlier, and these tablets, it's a 7-inch Windows 10 tablet, ultra rugged. We design these ourselves, and one of the great things is that any part on this tablet can be replaced or repaired since we build it ourselves. And so it's really meant to last, meant to be used outside, dropped, and abused quite a bit and still work. some of the key features are that the battery lasts all day long when you're out in the field, and you can even have multiple batteries that hot swap so that you can take them out and change them without having to turn off the device. It also has a really bright screen, so it's designed to be seen in direct sunlight or in cloudy, overcast skies. And so this is a really great tablet to run Windows, to run Uinta on, but Uinta does run on any Windows 10 tablet. The Mesa 3 is IP68 waterproof and dustproof, and like I said, very rugged, meant for outdoor use, down to -4 degrees Fahrenheit and up to 122 degrees Fahrenheit, and you can drop it multiple times. Now, when you're mapping with the Mesa, it does have a built-in GPS, and with that built-in GPS, you'll get about a 2 to 5 meter accuracy, and that's not always good enough for what people need to do. And so we have the Geode, which is a sub-meter GPS receiver, and you pair that via Bluetooth to your tablet, and that acts as your location now. And you're now, instead of a 2 to 5 meter accuracy, you're down to about 12 to 15 inch accuracy with the Geode. And I'll show you a little bit of a demonstration here on how that accuracy works. So think of it like a circle, a consumer device, like a typical tablet, or the GPS that's on the Mesa 3. If you mark a point, then think of a 2 to 5 meter circle. So once you get back to the office and look at your point, a lot of times it'll be close to the middle, but there's chances that it can be anywhere within that 2 to 5 meter circle. When you map with the Geode, you're looking at a 12 to 15 inch circle, and I'll show this a little bit more detail here. So this is a 12 to 15 inch circle, and these are points that we took, and you can see how they're all pretty close right there. And so that's a really good feature for when you're using it for telecom mapping, because you have those underground lines, and you need to know exactly where they are. And so within 12 inches, you can be pretty confident of where those lines are. The Geode, there's many different ways to carry the Geode. The top left picture is a standard, probably most popular way, with a survey pole. The Geode's mounted on top of the survey pole, and then there's a clamp that clamps your tablet to the survey pole. So you carry the survey pole with one hand, and then you have your other hand free for data entry. Some of the other ways, the top right is kind of a hands-free method, and we do have a carrying case, a 4-point harness for the Mesa 2, so you can carry it around your neck, and you can actually do your mapping totally hands-free with both hands free, and then you just kind of pick up the Mesa when you need to do data entry, and you have the Geode on your backpack strap. A couple other options. If you want to protect the Geode a little more, you can put it in your backpack. This is the bottom left one, and then you can have a patch antenna that runs out of your backpack and up onto your shoulder. So the Geode's totally protected and in a backpack, and then the exposed part is just the antenna. You can also do a survey, a little collapsible pole that attaches to a backpack. And these are just 4 of the options for carrying the Geode and the Mesa, but we do have many, many more options. If you need any information on that, let us know. We have a document that shows all the different ways to carry the Geode and the Mesa. So now I'm going to pass this over to Trevor, and he's going to do a live demonstration of the Uinta software and kind of show you how that can work with some telecom mapping.
Thank you, Paul. Uinta software first opens to a project screen. This is going to be a list of all of your different projects, and this list can be quite large. So you can search out, if you do have a large list of projects that you're managing, it is quite simple to actually just filter to the one you want. So for example, if I start typing utility, I'm going to find any that have that name in it, and I'll be able to locate my projects quickly. Uinta, the first thing to kind of remember about Uinta is that it's meant to be customized. So Uinta is used for a kind of wide range of data collection applications. However, it was designed with telecom and fiber mapping in mind, because here at Juniper Systems, we do have a fair number of customers who work in OSP and fiber type applications as well. So we certainly had that use case in mind when designing the software. The software is template based. So what you can do is create project templates. So if you're doing different types of data collection jobs, you can create a template to match those different jobs. So for example, if you're doing fiber mapping, you can, and you're only doing fiber mapping, maybe that's all you want in your template. But if you're also locating a lot of other utilities, you may also want those templates inside your template. So how it works is when I want to start a new project, all I do is I hit this large orange plus button. And by the way, we also designed this software so that it could be very easily trained. So if you have users that are maybe experts at other things or not very technology oriented or savvy, it's still okay. We generally find that we can train new users. Once we have the templates set up, we can generally train new users in 5 or 10 minutes on both the software and the hardware. It's really easy to collect data. So when I want to start a new project, I just select the large orange plus button, and then I have to decide, is this project going to exist only on this device, or do I want to start this project as a cloud project? This is just an optional way to start your project. So if you're going to have multiple devices connected to the same project, so you might want to view the progress of your crews collecting data out in the field. It will synchronize back and you can view this on your desktop. But in our case, for now and for demonstration purposes, I'm going to start this new project on this device, which is my laptop. And we're going to give it a name. Call it job. I'll give it a generic name, job 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm going to pick which template I want to use for this job. And so in our case, I'm going to choose a custom template. So as Paul mentioned, we have a number of these templates available that can be used as a starting point. And we can assist you to just sort of modify them to match your use case, or it's always possible to just start from scratch and build up a template that matches exactly your job. So in this case, I'm going to pick one of these templates. As you can see, I have one for all utilities, one that focuses primarily on conduit mapping. There's a template where you can create sub-projects. So you may have one large customer, and you may choose to have a lot of projects sort of grouped under that customer project or folder, essentially. The one I'm going to choose here is the Telecom inspection map template. And I can choose to give it an icon or color, project color. But in this case, once I've selected that template, my job 1, 2, 3, 4 has started, and I have a blank map. Now there's different types of if I select the layers, there's different types of online maps that I can switch to, and I may have different options that I choose from. But and so just know that there's different underlying base map imagery that you can choose from. But the important point is all I've done is selected the large orange plus button, given the project a name, selected a template. Now I can connect my GPS. So if I were out in the field, this may look more like a tablet view. So it's just going to size to the device that you have. So maybe you're carrying it more like a tablet view. And if I were out in the field, the next thing I would do is connect to my GPS. And because I'm in a building, I'm not going to select my Geode because I'm not able to track satellites. I don't have visibility to the sky and track satellites inside the building. But for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to select Windows Location Services, which is essentially a Wi-Fi GPS location source. And I'm just going to say connect. And I'm connected. And you're going to see my blue dot. This number up here, this is my estimated horizontal error, so my accuracy value. When I'm using Wi-Fi, I have really bad accuracy on that GPS position, whereas if I was using a Geode, you would see something about 8 inches or 1.1 feet, somewhere well below that sub-meter accuracy that the Geode is spec'd at. So if you're mapping utility lines, marking utility assets, we do recommend using that Geode because this is going to give you a very accurate position. So now once I've connected to my GPS, I can zoom to my position, and here I am at our Wi-Fi position at our factory here in Logan, Utah. If I want to map a new point, all I have to do now is select the orange plus button. And in this particular template, I've got a fiber cable line, a copper line, and I've got different options for points that I could choose. And so in this case, I'm just going to map a quick point. So I'm going to say, and by the way, before I do that, anything you see here can be customized or changed. So this is what I was talking about. When you create a new template, you can change what exists here to match your job. But in this case, I'm just going to pick a line, and we're going to map a pedestal. And anything you see here also can be customized very easily. So we can add things, change the names, take things away. These data entry forms can be quite robust. So if you are capturing a lot of data for your utility assets or your telecom or fiber assets, these forms most likely are going to be able to support your data entry. These are quite simplified examples. I maybe just have the pedestal ID, a type. Notice down here we have VDO5, VDO8. If I wanted to add another option, it's very easy to do that, but I'll just choose one and add some notes about this pedestal. Now, when I'm using Wi-Fi, my latitude and longitude is stagnant, and we have to choose update. Had you been outside mapping with your Geode, we try to make things very efficient. That would actually be auto-captured the moment you would have selected pedestal. So all you need to do now, I've entered some custom information and I've just said save. And there's my pedestal now mapped. So I can now select that pedestal and see that custom information. Had I taken any photos, those would have showed up here as well. At that point, I can then navigate to that asset. It's going to direct me exactly to it. So we'll do another example here in just a moment. I'm going to turn off my GPS now because I don't want to map another point directly on top of my current position. And I'm going to manually place this. So this is something you could do in the office, manually place utility assets wherever you want. And then when you're out in the field, you can navigate to those and reposition them if necessary as well. So that's certainly an option. But I'm going to go ahead and select the large orange plus button. I'm going to map on this point a cabinet. And I'm going to put this one a little bit away from myself here. And notice I'm using the mouse to mark my position, not to the GPS in this demonstration. And I'm just going to pretend it was over here in this parking lot and say finish. Maybe I'm going to enter some custom information about this cabinet. I've already got my latitude, longitude. Now I'm just going to save it. And the point I was making earlier about navigation, I can select this cabinet, see the information about it. Had my GPS been connected, I could navigate. And let's, it may prompt me here. Let's go ahead and connect that GPS really quick. There we go. And so now you can see it's given me a direction. And so this is my terrible error. And I'm going to expand this screen so you can see it a little better. This is my bad GPS error, but had you been using a Geode, it would be right around your 1 foot type accuracy. And so it's just going to guide me the direction. And as I start moving, there's going to be an arrow that would be present telling me which direction to go to get to that cabinet. So if you have some previously mapped assets, this is a good method to relocate those prior to digging or doing that kind of thing. That's often been one of the most valuable features that a lot of telecom customers use for Uinta. So now that you kind of see how that is, I'm going to give you kind of a general overview of the user interface as well. Here you have layers, as I demonstrated earlier. I can expand this and turn on a filter just for my cabinets, and it's going to filter to just the cabinets. I could say where cabinet ID contains equals, so you can do some advanced filtering that's very handy as well. I'm going to turn off this filter that I have applied just to see my other data. And also, at this point, I can also search out things like if I just wanted to find a pedestal, I can search from this area as well. So I start typing and it's going to locate that, the data that I was searching for. And then additionally, I have a map or a list view of my data, so I can kind of see a summary of all of the different data that I've been capturing. At this point, I'm going to return to the project screen and kind of run through some other examples just to kind of inspire you to conceptualize how this potentially could work for your situation. So in this case, this is a project that I just called all utilities generically. And we've got some previously mapped data. Uinta is very flexible. If I want to map something new, I can hit the orange plus button. And notice how I have a lot more things here. This is kind of a comprehensive utility mapping template where you've got different areas. Maybe these things apply to you, maybe they don't, but certainly they can be changed and modified to your situation. I've got a lot of different types of utility lines in this template. They're all color-coded to match the sort of industry standard. I also have the option to map and group different types of points. So for example, in communication points, I've got these already. I've added one called line damage. And just to add something new, you just need to select this large plus button here. And we're going to add a new and this is just for demonstration purposes. Maybe these are the icons and colors. By the way, we have simple shapes that there's a lot of formatting changed. But there's that new communication point that I added. Once I do that, I can further customize that so that the data entry form matches exactly. So it's quite easy to modify and change these customer templates. And that's something, if you buy this software, you get full support from Juniper Systems. We assist you in making sure your templates are set up and that you have training both on your hardware and software. And our goal is to get you up and running successfully and collecting data as fast as we can, so you can get back on the job. And so you can kind of see the different options. And if I start looking, here's the conduit map template that I currently have as well. If I go into this project and I select the orange plus button, you might have some different lines and points that you map related to conduit. This telecom inspection map, this is a good example. I wanted to demonstrate the line functionality within Uinta. So in order to map utility lines, after locates happen, or maybe you have some exposed ground, that's a good time to map. But all you need to do, just like before, I have my GPS connected. I just select the large plus button. And this time, let's say I'm going to map a new fiber cable. And if I select that, I now have two options. Either I can map this line using the auto capture method, meaning it's just going to track me at some user-defined interval, meaning either time or distance. So it's going to add points along that line when I just did automatically. This is the method preferred by most utilities professionals in the sense that they get to choose when to add points on that line. Because many utility lines run straight, many users want to add a point at the beginning of the line and add a point at the end of the line, or potentially where that line tees. And if they're using a geode, that line is going to be highly accurate as well because those points are accurate. So we're going to go with this method, and I'm going to just say start. And now I'm in line mapping mode. I'm ready to start mapping. If I want to add my first point in the line, I just select this little button here, and I've got my first point in the line. And now I'm going to use my mouse because I'm not walking around, but if I pretend this is my GPS, I start walking this way and I get to the end of the line, maybe out here in this street. And so I'm going to use my mouse instead of my GPS, but had you been using your GPS, you would have just walked here and simply pushed the add button. But if I'm here using my mouse, I just select the line here. And if it tees and goes down the street, I would just keep moving and maybe it connects up with this other one, maybe not. And also, it's important to remember this button did not disappear. So if you wanted to map points along the way, you can. You don't need to close your line reopen it and start mapping when you want to map one of these points. These points are going to be available for you to map along the way and then resume your line. So I just wanted to make sure that point was clear. Once I do that, but once I've mapped this line and I'm happy with it, I can just say finish, enter information about it. And again, this is custom information, very easy to add. If I wanted to add a value for my cable size, I would just edit that and add a new one to it. I won't do that now for the sake of time, but I'll just go through, make some selections. Maybe it's ribbon, locate type, armored. This is maybe some custom notes again. And I'm going to save this line, and there's fiber cable line that's saved. And so at this point, now I'm ready to export my data. So I'm going to turn off my GPS, pretend maybe I've been using a cloud account. And if my crew was outside using a cloud account, they don't need internet connection, as Paul mentioned. When that device does connect to the internet, it will push data to the cloud. And then maybe an administrative person in the office or a project manager, they will then be able to see that data show up on their side because the two projects are connected through the cloud. But at this point, you can export your data. And if you just select this button here, you've got options for export. So for example, maybe I do a PDF export and maybe you add some custom notes. You can add a logo. Maybe I'll do my face here as a logo. I can add, so you can add some custom information. So what I'm doing here is I'm exporting to a PDF, and this PDF can be customized. So this is something that you can share with the customers or share with anyone that you want. So there's a lot of different options. You can choose to make this larger, include photos, not include photos, that kind of information. What you see is you get these nice looking fiber maps. If this was your logo would be here, and you're going to get your legend. It's going to print out, you know, had you had photos, those would have showed up here as well. So those are a really nice feature for a lot of customers. They're able to share this information with their customers and give them something tangible after they've gone out, located or installed a lot of this fiber line. Similarly, if I wanted to export to Excel, I can do that. And I'm going to add a couple points here just to kind of show you a couple of details. And I'm going to save these very fast. So there's a locate post. Also, maybe we'll add a handhold. And so I've added and maybe as a handhold type. And I've saved that. Now I'm starting to build out a nice looking map here. And so if I want to export to Excel, once I do that, you're going to see these separated by an Excel tab. So this is good information. And this is a very common method to integrate with a fiber management software if you have one. So if you're using OSP Insights, Vetro, ArcGIS, any of these kind of major fiber management system softwares, this Uinta is commonly used to collect data in the field, manage project field data. It's a very easy user interface for your crews to train. It's affordable relative to other types of mapping and data collection software. And once you're done, these can be customized to match exactly what you have in Vetro, for example, so that it can import directly to your fiber management system. So that's a pretty common application within Telecom. Additionally, you can export to Google Earth, and it's going to export with all of your custom information as well. You'll see that here in just a moment. So this same map that we just completed here, it's just going to show up right in Google Earth exactly how you would expect. It's going to have that custom information. It's going to carry with that as well. So if you have some customers that you want to share this with, or you're using Google Earth in some capacity, you can both import data from Google Earth and export data from Google Earth. And additionally, there is a shapefile option. So if you are working with a municipality or other customers who are using a GIS system, you're also able to share data in that method as well. So, what last thing I was intending to demonstrate is we can import data, like for example, I mentioned from Google Earth. and I'm just going to import some test data that we have, and it'll take just a moment here. Meanwhile, we're getting close to the end of this webinar, and if you do have questions, please be sure to type them in the chat, and we'll try to answer those here in a moment, and if we don't have time, we will certainly follow up. So once we've imported this data, if I go, and this one happens to be called week 3, so it's like a project where we're working, and if once I have this data, bear with me here, let me turn it back on and go to it. I'm going to zoom out. Oops, sorry, bear with me here. And I'm going to try that. There we go. There it is. There we go. Sorry, and so just with this data, you're able to see if you have existing fiber lines and data that you want to import, then I can go and modify and see all the different types of information. And maybe I wanted to modify the color and change it to orange and, do that. And, so you can go and customize this information. And now if I wanted to navigate to this or basically go and identify things like, for example, maybe there was a line break or something like that, I could go and add those and map them directly. So that really concludes the demo of Uinta. There's certainly a lot of other features. The forms can be quite robust. As I mentioned before, you can choose to create sub-projects. Maybe now before I launch the map, I'm going to say demo project and fill out information about the job first. And there it is. And now when I select that, I would launch the map view and start mapping things. So certainly the forms can be quite robust. But I just want to turn it back over to Paul. And if there are any questions, please feel free to type those in the chat. And thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Trevor. So that concludes the webinar. If you have any questions, you can put them in the questions. We'll get to them. I don't see any, so if you add any at any time, we'll get to those to you via email. Once again, I've got our contact info here on the screen. You can also email myself or Trevor if you have any questions. And I just really want to thank you for attending the webinar. We really appreciate you taking the time, and we hope that Uinta and the mapping with Telecom will be able to help your job go a lot easier. So thank you once again for attending.